Hi everyone, I'm Lauren and welcome back to another series of project analysis. So today I will be sharing with you on the Robertson Opus, and I'm really excited about today's sharing because it is one of the rare 999 leasehold project that's upcoming. So maybe just to talk a little bit more, in the upcoming months, right, you will be seeing a lot more exciting new launches, which we will be doing more different series upcoming, so do look up for that. The last project analysis series that I've done was actually Lentor Central Residences. You can check out the video in my YouTube channel, and subsequently there have been a few more new launches like One Marina Gardens as well as Bloomsbury Residences, etc. So it has been a while before I've done another one, and that's why I'm really excited to be sharing the Robertson Opus for today. Let's dive right in. I will be sharing with you on the Robertson Opus story as well as to touch on the collection for this opus. So I realized that this is very important because unlike many other new launches, right, the Robertson Opus, they actually have three very unique collection, namely the Legacy, Premier as well as the Luxury, which I will be touching on more later. The main differences would be the finishes as well as the types of fittings that they are using. Okay, so I will also be touching on supply rental in River Valley to compare it with another area, and also surrounding upcoming new launches. I find that this piece is very important, especially if you are looking to buy into a project. You have to know what are your competitor or upcoming choices around the area that you're looking at. And also, same as my previous project analysis videos, I will be doing a full layout analysis, and also at the end I will also give you my choice layout for each unit type. So opus is actually a Latin word. Magnum opus is a combination of Latin words magnum, which means great, as well as opus work. So opus actually, to put it simply, it means masterpiece, which I do not expect anything lesser from this project, because if you think about it, we are talking about Robertson Walk, this area which is really the heart of Robertson Quay. So this is actually where the Robertson Opus is exactly going to be rebuilt. So by Fraser's Property as well as AQC House, they are going to redevelop this Robertson Walk that we all know into a new Robertson Opus. So when you look at this picture, right, it just brings back memories of all the good times that you have seen there. For anybody, be it tourists or Singaporeans or anyone staying in Singapore, if you have been to Robertson Quay, this is the place where you would have been to, where you have your wine connection, you have kampai, you have your Korean barbecue, and there are a lot of drinking places as well as restaurants over there for you to chill. And it's right along the Singapore River, which is also this riverside living around there. It is a very bustling area that it really has this very lifestyle and chill kind of factor. So I'm really excited that they are going to redevelop this, because I do find that this area is so prime. It definitely has a lot of potential to be rebuilt into something more. Okay, so if you were to look at it, they are going to rebuild it into a 999 a leasehold. It's only 5 minutes walk to Fort Canning MRT station. They do have shops as well, and then as you know, Robertson Quay, the location is surrounded by, it's very near to CBD area as well as the town. Okay, and of course there is also this distance over here to top schools like ACS Junior, which is pretty rare if you were to be staying somewhere in the likes of like Robertson. Okay, so the Robertson Opus is going to be redeveloped into a mixed development where it has residential component as well as the retail. There will be estimated 26 commercial units on level 1 and basement 1. So I would think that currently there are already shops around there. I hope that the developer will continue to bring in similar tenant mix so that you do get to enjoy the same old Robertson Quay vibes when you go there next time. As of now, I believe that the shops will still be managed internally by Fraser's. So that is actually good news for people who are going to look at the Robertson Opus, because this is very crucial. Yeah, if the shops are managed internally by the own developer, they have full control over the tenant mix. They have full control over who they want to rent the unit to. So it will definitely be a good mix in a way. You will have anchor tenant, for example, like grocery shops, NTUC or cold storage, for example, and you will also have a good mix of restaurants and cafes and whatnot. But if you look at another development where it is also a mixed development with retails, F&B, and they were to sell all this out, you will realize that when you have no control over the tenant mix, it becomes very messy. You can have like a few hot pot stores together side by side, or some stores that you don't really want to have a lot. It doesn't make a difference to your life, like a lot of massage parlors around. So it doesn't really give you the very prestigious kind of place for you to shop there. It becomes very messy in a way lah. Okay, so it's a good thing if it's going to be managed internally. So as of now, we do not have any confirmed news yet, but as we know, Fraser's, they do manage a lot of other retails as well. So I hope that this is what it is. lah. Okay, so let's move on to some artist impression. So the new Robertson Opus is going to look like that. If you ask me, it's pretty decent. It's very neat, even though it's very, very different from the previous Robertson, where you see it's very light color. I find that it's a good thing that they're changing it to something that's more modern looking lah. Because as the country progresses, right, you will realize that by doing this, it actually maintains the same quality of this whole area, and yet it brings in more crowd. It will attract more crowd because this is not so dated. And if you look at the artist impression, I do think that it is very, very well done in a way that they have this court in the middle. Even though now there are some residentials there, but because of this court, this main courtyard in this area, right, it is still very bright and it is not closed up like suddenly become like a mall. It is still a very recreational place that it still has some Robertson Quay vibes to it. Yeah, they still retain that kind of feeling when you are shopping over there. So this is actually a further view of how the Robertson Opus is going to look like. So I think from this, what I can see is that the color scheme that they are using is something that is more lighter brown warm tone rather than the dark modern colors that a lot of other residentials are using. But yet, it is not the lighter colors that it has been using before. I would think that it's going to look pretty decent. So if you look at this, Robertson Opus is over here. And then this is actually the side orientation. We all know where Robertson Walk is, right? So we are along the river and Chinatown is just distance away. If you drive, it's probably about 5 minutes. And then Fort Canning is over here, CBD, Clarke Quay, Marina Bay Sands. So if you realize this area, it is near the CBD, yet it is not within the CBD. For some people, they like to live near where they work, but yet they want to come back to a place where they still feel homely. And I think Robertson Quay is one of them. If you have been to the River Valley area, right, you will never ever feel that it is a very work district, business district kind of feel, unlike, for example, maybe Tanjong Pagar. Yeah, so for people who live at Tanjong Pagar, maybe sometimes weekends it'll be quite quiet. And then because ultimately over there are a lot of offices. Whereas River Valley area, it is along the riverside living, and around that area there are a lot of branch places. So even though it's near CBD, but you will never ever feel that you are living in a CBD area, which is why there's actually a lot of demand over here. Okay, so if you look at the amenities nearby, we are near the CBD, as I've mentioned. It's just a 10 minutes drive to the Orchard Road belt as well as MBS. And then we are also near Clarke Quay, Boat Quay, and it's just a short walk along the Singapore River, right, leading you to Chinatown area. Yeah, so location wise, definitely nothing to complain about. We are really at the heart of everything. Okay, let's move on to project information. So the Robertson Opus is going to be a 999-year leasehold in Central District 9, and there will be a total of 348 units, and there will be an estimated of 26 units of shop. The unit type would be from suite 1-bedder, 2-bedder, 3-bedder, and the biggest would be 4-bedder. Okay, and the TOP would be the estimated second quarter of 2030. Okay, so let's move on to the site plan and distribution chart. So on the site orientation, you can see that we are over here, the Robertson Opus, and we are actually surrounded by UE Square residences, UE Square, Robertson House, Village The Pier. Okay, the reason why I'm sharing you this slide, right, is to show you that if you were to buy the Robertson Opus, there will be no view. The highest unit is situated on either level 9 or level 10, and you will definitely be blocked by all the buildings around you. So if you are looking to enter into this development, do note that if you're facing outside, you'll be blocked. If you're facing inside, it will command a slight premium, because internal facing the pool, right, by right, most of the time there is already a premium. So you do have to take that into consideration if you were to work out your financials and to decide which unit to select for. Okay, and we are also near New Baru. I'm not sure if you have been to New Baru. It is a pretty new estate over there where there are a lot of very cool shops and brunch place, and there's also some kids area around there. I have been there on the weekends before. It's a new attraction. You can go there and take a look yourself, and it's also very near to where the Opus is going to be. Okay, so unit distribution chart, I will always like to touch on the percentage of the different unit types in the development to show you that what will be the kind of neighbors or buyers profile that will enter into this project. If you realize, right, for the suites 1-bedder and 2-bedder unit type, it makes up to the majority of 66%, and suites and 1-bedder alone is already 23%. Okay, so if you were to look at the bigger 3-bedder bedder onwards, that means 3 and 4 bedder, they are 34. And if you were to look at the bigger 3 and 4 bedder, what do I mean by bigger? It is actually these two types: 3 bedroom premium, 4 bedroom premium. The size is above 1,000 square feet. There are only 10% available. So why am I highlighting this 3 bedroom premium and 4 bedroom premium? For own stay, families who really value the space and all that, right? I would think that they definitely have to go for a 3 bedroom premium and 4 bedroom premium, because this layout, which I will touch on later, these are the only layouts that have your home shelter, your yard, and your WC, which for some families, these are non-negotiables. Okay, but of course there are other unit types like 3 bedroom flexi, 3 bedroom dual flex, which I will be touching on the layout later. But just to take note, these other layouts, there will be no yard, home shelter, or WC, etc. Okay, only the premium 3 bedroom premium and 4 bedroom premium. Now let's move on to the collection. For the Robertson Opus, right, there are 3 types of collection, namely the Premier Collection, the Luxury Collection, and the Legacy Collection. So this page actually shows you the summary, where I have also highlighted that for the Premier Collection, right, it's actually at block 15. There is a high ceiling of 3.225, and which is also why this special block, they are only up to level 9. And one more thing to take note of is this block, right, it has all the small units, 1 bedder suites, and the type B1 for the 2 bedder. Okay, and they are using a lighter tone flooring. As you can see, it is the lighter one, which I will touch on later. And for the luxury, right, it will be this block 13, 11, and 7. They're using like more earth hues kind of flooring. Okay, and the Legacy Collection is for this block 9, right? They are using marble flooring. So I'm just actually picking out what is important for this different collection to show you what are the differences. But if you were to ask me, of course, the most prestigious one has to be the Legacy Collection, which is also why in this block, right, it's only housing the 3 bedroom premium and the 4 bedroom premium, and they're using marble compared to the other Italian tiles. But for even the luxury and the premier, they are using large format Italian tiles, 1x4 times 1x4. So as we know lah, for tiles, right, the bigger it is, the more expensive it is, right? Because when it's so big, right, you don't really see the grout, and that's the beauty of it. So if you were to ask me, I don't think there's anything that's inferior here. Everything is quality. It's just that they are putting it in different types of collection that suits different types of buyers. So if I were to dive deeper, for the Premier Collection, as you can see, the color tone, right, is this kind of lighter color that is more brighter and more vibrant. And for the Premier Collection, like what I've mentioned, is only situated at block 15, and you have all the smaller unit types. So it's a brighter and chic palette. So the same thing, they're using large format tile, and then the carpentry finish is also more of the pastel white color. The only thing that I feel is usually for lighter tiles, whenever there's aspects of dust or there are some stains, right, it is more obvious compared to the darker tone one. But other than that, it seems very, very classy. Okay, so next would be the Luxury Collection, which is actually majority of the blocks. You have it on block 7, 11, and 13. So as you can see, right, the color is more earth tone, and it's more of like a contemporary elegance palette. And then same thing, they are using large format tile. Instead of bright colors, they are using beige color. Okay, and then for the laminate, they are using warm colors as well compared to the previous one, which is actually whitish color. All right, and then the last one would be the Legacy Collection, where they are using marble instead of tile, and this is only in block 9. And as I've mentioned, this block only houses 3 bedroom premium and 4 bedroom premium. So one look, right, you can tell that it is very different because they are using more expressive kind of design, and then they are using satin glass carpentry finishes instead of laminates. Okay, so all these are just FYI. You will know yourself lah what suits you better. And of course, when the show flat is open, right, come down to take a look and see it for yourself. Okay, and this is just another overview just to reiterate to you, because 3 collections can be pretty confusing. So I just want to let you remember that, just remember this one, it is the one with high ceiling, this is the one with marble, and the rest are the luxury blocks. Okay, so let's go right into the unit type analysis, starting with suites and 1 bedroom. For suites, right, there are 2 types, type S1 and S1A. The suites is at 431 square feet. One look at it, it is a very regular rectangular kind of layout. So maybe just to highlight to you, for suites and 1 bedroom, the difference would be there is no separate compartment. As you can see, the bedroom, right, is actually integrated together. The bed is over here, the living is over here, the dining here, and the kitchen area is over here. So once you step in, everything is integrated. It is as though though stepping into a hotel, yeah? So there will be no partitions for your bedroom. Everything is just together. It's also a form, it's a type of living, it's a type of lifestyle. Maybe some people, they don't see a need to really have to have a separate room for themselves, and it's just for own stay, right? Even if they want to host people, they don't mind having this kind of open concept. And then as you can see, for suites, they are all facing outwards over here. Alright, then next, for the one bedder, 495 square feet. So you see, the wall is over here separating the master bedroom, and you have a separate living and dining over here. So the only thing comparing to suites is that you have privacy lah. So maybe for this, I would think that maybe there is a couple living in it, and then someone is sleeping, then the other person will be just outside watching TV, that kind of lifestyle. And then for one bedder, it's all inwards facing, just to take note. So next, I would like to share with you something that you should pay attention to if you are coming in to buy the smaller units, meaning to say either suites or the one bedder. Alright, so for the one bedder, they are facing inwards. So if you are facing inwards and you have seen enough of my videos, you will have known that most of the time developer will actually add on a premium. So I'm going to do up this pricing comparison based on some assumptions on the pricing. So one bedder inwards facing, approximately 3,250 PSF, you will be looking at a price of 1.6 million. Okay, so let's say if we are comparing it to suites, which is we are basing on an approximation of 3,200 PSF, which is slightly lower compared to the inwards facing premium, then we are looking at the price point of maybe 1.379. Do take note that the suites in terms of sizing is also smaller, so the difference can go up to 230,000 between suites and one bedder, and the price difference of 229 for a small unit. I think that is very obvious which unit I'm going to choose lah. So my choice unit will be the suites, because if you ask me to pay for a price difference for a premium, definitely I have to see what is the premium that I'm paying for and what is the difference that I'm going to pay for. Yes, suite is smaller, 431 compared to one bedder, which is 495. But if there is no very big significant difference in terms of the layout, the only thing is the privacy that is separating my sleeping area to my living and dining area. To pay 230,000 more, and I don't see something that is of a significant difference, I would go for suites in terms of price point. And then unless you are really someone that cherish and value privacy a lot, then probably you will choose a different unit type from me. But ultimately, I'm just sharing with you my choice units and why I choose it. And to me, for a one bedder, 230,000 is a lot. It's a very big difference, and it makes a difference when you were to exit in future. So now let's move on to the demand supply versus the rental yield of the smaller unit types. So not just about the Robertson Opus, but I'm taking the opportunity to share with you how I actually look at data. So am I to say that when we look at the smaller units like one bedder, most people coming in would be looking at investment. That means they will buy and rent it out. So to understand data like rental yield is extremely important. And then of course, before you commit into a property, knowing the demand and supply is equally important. So supply is very straightforward. It is data that's derived from website or from app. You can simply pull out the numbers. Demand is something that you must be experienced or on the ground to know what the people looking at that area would actually want to go for or willing to pay for. It is very important because you must always know when you buy a property, you must already know who are the people that's going to buy from you next time. And this is a very important part before you commit into a property. So for one bedder and suites, as mentioned, if you are buying for investment, rental yield comes into play. And I'm going to show you this case study. When you take a look at the supply of one bedder and suites in the River Valley area, I have actually filtered out to be comparable to the Robertson Opus. So I'm only looking at projects that's 999 or freehold and minimally 300 units. Okay, so out of these 5 projects, there is a total of 257 one bedder compared to the total number of units. That makes up to about 11%. And on the other hand, if we were to look at another area like Marina Bay area, I have also taken out the number of units for their one bedder, which is 1,000 over units over the total area. It actually makes up to about 36%. Okay, so in this case, right, Marina Bay has more than 30% supply, whereas River Valley only has about 11% of small units. So based on this, am I right to say that if River Valley's one bedder is so low in supply, it's actually a better buy? Because most agents will probably tell you it's better to buy because it's low in supply, it's easier to rent out next time. People don't have a lot of choices. But does low supply actually equals to high demand? Let's take a look, yeah? So for Marina Bay, even though the one bedder constitute of about 36% of the total supply in the area, their rental yield is about 4%. Okay, so if we base on the fact that low supply equal to high demand equals to better yield, then am I right to say that the River Valley's yield should be even higher since there's only about 11% of one bidder? So let's take a look at this data. On the contrary, right, River Valley's rental yield is 3.3%, which is even lower than Marina Bay. So in this case, right, what I'm trying to show you that when you put all these data together, it shows that the lower supply in River Valley does not necessarily equals to higher demand. It's because when you buy any property, you also have to look at the demand. If you're buying for investment, what is the rental demand over there? So from this case study, it is very clear that if I'm an investor and I go for rental yield and my agent were to say that, then you should buy River Valley. Supply is low, next time easier to rent out. It is not the case. I will still go for Marina Bay because rental yield is higher there. So I just want to show you that low supply does not necessarily mean that it has higher demand. You must really understand the demand in that particular district itself. So if you were to ask me, the best type of unit to go into would be low supply, but knowing that this unit type has very high demand in that area. For this kind of unit, right, you definitely have no issue exiting with a good profit next time. Okay, so next, we also want to know what are the upcoming projects, new launches within your vicinity. So other than the Robertson Opus, right, if you move further down to the Havelock and the River Valley area, there are actually 5 more plots upcoming. The latest and the newest one would be River Green, which is this area that's also upcoming. River Green is the other side of River Valley and is a 99-year leasehold project that's also upcoming. I want to highlight to you one thing is that for people looking to buy into the Robertson Opus, knowing all this, it may be quite alarming to know that, oh, other than this, right, there are 5 more plots upcoming. On one hand, I feel that buyers looking at Robertson Opus may not be the same type of buyers that's looking at River Green area because they just want to buy into a piece of Robertson Quay, and Robertson Walk is in the heart of it. So it's more of like a very iconic place and it's 999, and people buy there. It is more for a different intention and needs, I would say, compared to this. But if there are people buying in for investment, right, then this is something that you should be concerned about. So let's look at this. River Green may be launching at maybe just about 2000 to 2007 or 2008 PSF compared to the Robertson Opus, which is estimated at 3002 PSF because it's 999, right? And we already have information that the River Green 2-bedder, it can be as small as 527 square feet, and if the 2-bedder can be around 1.475 million. Whereas if you look at our 1-bedder at the Robertson Opus, 495 square feet times 3200 PSF, right, we are looking at about 1.58 million. The difference of what we are seeing here is that buyer can actually buy a 2-bedder at River Green cheaper than a 1-bedder in the Robertson Opus. If I'm an investor, this number, it may sway my decision. Of course, like I've mentioned, I don't think the group of buyers coming in Opus and River Green are the same, but it is good to always know what are the pricing and what are the types of buyers that will come into in the future. So let's move on to 2-bedroom analysis. So for 2-bedroom analysis, right, I will start off with the Premier Collection, which is at the Block 15 over here. So Block 15 is also the one where the suites and 1-bedder are all situated at. For this type B1, right, it's situated at these 4 corners over here, and it's at 721 square feet. So why do I want to highlight that it's at a corner? Because, right, when it's at a corner, you will see all these features. Window in the kitchen, window in all the bath. So when you have windows in this kind of area, right, naturally the whole place, even though it's small, it is ventilated, number one, and it will be bright because you have natural light coming in. For most of the smaller unit, all this you will not have. You will just have a ventilator inside, and probably your kitchen, right, is a wall because usually smaller units are not at the corner. So these are actually very, very good features for smaller units, and this will potentially attract the type of buyers coming in to buy your unit next time, especially if they are buying for own stay. Okay, so the size, if I were to look at this layout, it is a conventional layout, meaning to say it's not dumbbell. You walk in here, you have an enclosable kitchen, you have a proper dining, and then you go in here, you have your 2-bedroom master and bedroom 2. It's a very typical kind of layout, but do take note because it's under Premier Collection, the ceiling height is higher at 3.225. So the whole feel is gonna be very different. It is bright, well lit, and you will feel very, very spacious because of the higher ceiling. Okay, so that is our first type of the 2-bedroom, which is type B1. So the next one is type B2. So this 2-bedroom is slightly smaller, 689, and is no longer situated at the premium block. It's situated in the luxury collection, meaning to say it's a normal ceiling height. It's no longer the one with the higher ceiling. So it is kind of like this as a back to the normal original 2-bedder unit. So this one, as you can see, same thing. It has an enclosable kitchen, and this is what I mean by usually when for smaller unit, right, there is no window over here. Okay, so it is a wall, and of course with that you don't have natural ventilation and natural light coming in. It can be quite dark. Okay, you have to put enough lighting inside the kitchen. Okay, but one good thing is it is still enclosable, meaning you walk in and it's not a kitchenette, and it has a dining area over here, and this unit type is a dumbbell. There you can see the 2 rooms are at the side. So the difference between dumbbell and conventional layout, if you have watched enough of my analysis video, would be that dumbbell you actually save up space on the walkway. So conventional, you walk in and then the room 1, room 2, this walkway, this corridor walkway is slightly longer compared to a dumbbell. When you walk in, you turn left is 1 room, turn right is 1 room. You actually save up on this walkway, which is why usually typically a dumbbell unit is smaller in size. Smaller in size also equals to cheaper because when you times the square footage, right, it will come up with a lower quantum. So the downside would be you don't have privacy, because if you have guests coming in and they are in your living, right, they also look left, look right, they can see both your rooms. Right, so let's move on to the other types of 2-bedder, B3 and B4 at 710 and 721 square feet. Okay, so other than this type B2, which is the smallest 2-bedder, and later on I'm also going to touch on 2+ study, the rest are all conventional layout. So for this one, you can see that I can just highlight to you the difference because there are actually a few types of 2-bedder. When you walk in here, right, you don't get an enclosable kitchen. It's actually a kitchenette. Then when you come in, like I've mentioned, this is no longer a dumbbell. This is a shorter corridor, because if you realize one of the room is over here, the master, and the other room is right opposite instead of side by side. Okay, so this configuration is slightly different. And then whereas for this 721 is bigger also because, as you can see, you have another enclosable kitchen with glass panel over here, so at least it's not too dark. And you walk in, is a conventional layout, so you have this corridor that you will walk into your first room and your second room. Then let's move on to the next 2-bedder, which is also 721, just different layout. So for these 2, B5 and B6, right, if you realize they are a L-shaped kitchenette. It is not enclosable, it is not one line, it's an L shape, and it's also a conventional layout whereby you walk into this corridor, you have room 1, room 2. Okay, same thing here, room 1, room 2. So one thing that I don't like about this layout is that there is no proper dining area compared to the rest. So you see all this, there is this like you can push this table along to this wall, and then you have this cozy little corner. Whereas this, you realize the dining is actually floating in the middle like that. So if you have to pull your chair out, you will kind of block, and then you are eating in front of your L-shaped kitchenette. So to me, I don't find this dining experience as pleasant as the previous one. So this is how I actually do my choice unit selection. These are the things that I look out for. Okay, then the last 2-bedroom unit type would be the biggest one, which is 2-bedroom plus study at 743 square feet. So like I've mentioned, only the smallest one and the smallest 2-bedroom at 689 square feet, and the biggest one, which is this 2-bedroom plus study, is in a dumbbell layout. Okay, you walk in here, you have a kitchen, enclosable kitchen with glass panel. That's very good. And then when you turn over here, you have a study, and then you have this little proper dining area over here. So you walk in further, you turn left and you turn right. That will be where your 2 rooms are. Okay, so one thing to also take note of is that for this 2+ study, right, it is located at these 4 stacks, 1, 8, 21 and 28, and all the units are actually inwards facing. Inwards facing, what does it mean? It commands a premium already. And not just that, they are the furthest block from each other, meaning to say that the price premium might be higher than other 2-bedder unit because of all these features. Meaning to say, for these 4 stacks, if you were to stand at the balcony, your view is very far, and it can be a pretty good view plus pool view. Usually pool view, if the blocks are very near each other, you're actually looking at your neighbors opposite. You're actually looking into their house. But for this one, I would say that because of this very good distance away, you do still have some privacy, yet it's inward pool view. Okay, so just take note. I think that there will definitely be a difference in the price. Okay, so let's look at my choice units for 2-bedder. For my choice unit for 2-bedder, right, I'm actually looking at B1, which is the first 2-bedder unit type that is situated in block 15, which is the premium collection with high ceiling. And my another top choice would be B2, which is the normal ceiling height one under luxury collection, but the small smallest unit type. The reason why I put these two side by side is because I want to show you the layout. The layout, right, for type B1 is very obvious that it's the top choice because it is enclosable kitchen. It has everything that a buyer would want to look out for own stay, of course. You see, you have windows over here, which is extremely rare for small units, and you also have high ceiling. So when you walk into this unit, right, immediately you feel the difference. And when people feel the difference, and especially when they are buying for own stay, they become emotional, and that's where they are willing to pay. And that's why for certain unit type, right, they actually are able to sell so much higher, and the sellers are able to profit a lot more compared to another type of layout and unit type. So these are the important features that we look out for. And then I'm putting these two side by side also because I want to show you, if you are a buyer coming in here, you see the layout is not too far off from each other because you do have a enclosable kitchen, also a very important feature, rather than a kitchenette that's open up. And then you have a proper dining over here. And one more thing is the size, 689. So if we were to do a calculation, 689, right, compared to their biggest one at 2 plus study, 743, and if we were to take 743 minus 689, the difference would be about 54 square feet. And if I were to take 54 square feet times 3002 PSF, the difference is 172,000. And the 172,000, right, it gives you an additional study over here. 172,000 for a study corner for a small unit. If I have no need for it, then I will not be willing to pay. Okay, so that is why I will still go for the smaller one, because the layout is really not bad. It's not say that it's extremely bad. It is really very decent, and yet with this kind of small size, it actually means that the quantum that you're going to enter is going to be very palatable. Okay, so if you want, you can screenshot this. I actually added in this very last minute because there are so many types of two-bedder, and this is the ranking. B1 Premier because of the best layout with windows. My second choice would be the B2, which is the smallest of the two-bedder, but it comes with a proper dining and enclosable kitchen. So I'm basing it on a price point plus layout to put it as my top choice. Okay, then for the next one would be 2 plus study. So my choice 3 would be 2 plus study, simply because for people, it wins the other unit because of the space that it has. Plus, if people actually want to buy for own stay, they might actually appreciate that the distance between the blocks are very far, and yet they do have the pool view. So it's more of like a quality of the life that they are willing to pay for. Okay, and then my fourth one would be B4, which also have a proper kitchen dining. And then the last one would be the L-shaped kitchenette that doesn't really have a place for dining. I do find that dining area, if there is no proper place for dining area, it may end up being very awkward with your friends over lah. One thing to take note of is the Robertson Opus is actually a 999 leasehold unit, which is as good as freehold. You also must understand, when people buy a 999 or a freehold, right, what are they thinking? They might be buying for own stay, they might be buying to hold it as a legacy, something like that. And then rental yield may not be the most important for them. It's actually the comfort, and then it's also they value their comfort as well as the layout of the place more when they step in. Okay, so these are the things that you should be considering when you are looking at the Robertson Opus compared to the likes of other developments, other maybe leasehold developments that people go purely for the investment aspect of it. Okay, so let's move on to our 3-bedroom analysis. So for the 3-bedroom, I will start off with this legacy collection, which is 3-bedroom premium at 1152 square feet. We have it in two types, type C1 and type C2. Both are situated in block 9. Okay, block 9 is over here. So block 9 is the one that only house the premium unit type, the 3-bedroom premium and the 4-bedroom premium. So let's take a look at the layout. Actually, I really like the premium layout a lot. I find that it's very comfortable for own stay. So when you come in, right, you have a very regular shaped living area, and this kitchen, you can see over here, they design in this design, instead of like being enclosable or not enclosable, they actually do it in this design whereby you have 2 glass panels over here that you can close it up, you can slide and close it up to become fully enclosable, yet it's glass, so you can actually see in, and it will be extremely bright to do your cooking and whatnot. But yet, say if you have friends that come over, if you were to open up the glass, it becomes an open concept kitchen, which actually help you free up the space and makes you feel that it's more spacious. You can even use this area as like a dry kitchen or a bar, a kitchen bar, where you can house your friends over here and they can also be sitting around here. So this whole space is very big. Okay, then of course it has your home shelter, your yard and your WC, which, like what I mentioned previously, it can be quite a non-negotiable feature for certain families who are looking for own stay. And one thing to take note of is that for the Robertson Opus, it is a redevelopment, meaning to say it's not GLS, it's also not en bloc, and this is a non-PPVC development. So all this you can actually, if you look at the layout, all these beams, all this you can actually hack away if you do not want it. Okay, so for the living, right, as you can see, the balcony actually spreads across the living and bedroom 3. If you need the 3-bedroom, then of course you can leave it, but you do have a choice to hack this away to have a really huge living area. Okay, so you do have the flexibility to do that. And on top of that, right, they also have this little flexi room over here that comes with window as well. And this is a very smart designer because, right, okay, I'm going to use this because the other one is too messy. Because you see, this flexi, they actually put it right beside the master bedroom. Okay, so for someone who value their comfort and people who stay in the master bedroom, I believe they are the main paymaster of this house, right? They can actually hack this away and have a built-in wardrobe over here, or just simply have a bigger master room by just putting the door here. There, you have an extra space that comes with window, which means that this space, it will not be dark, it will be still well ventilated and it's part of your master room. But of course, if you do not want that, it becomes a flexi room on its own with window, which can easily becomes a very, very comfortable study space, or it can also become a very comfortable makeshift room to just put a mattress there and becomes a room. Because when it comes with window in this kind of layout, I believe it comes with an aircon as well. So I actually think that their 3-bedroom premium is an extremely beautiful layout. One of the best in the whole of the Robertson Opus. Alright, so let's see. This is what I mean by the legacy kitchen. As you can see, because of this 2 glass panel, this 2 glass sliding door over here, when you leave it open, it becomes a very open concept kitchen. Alright, when you close it up, you can do your cooking inside and all that, and then it becomes a kitchen on its own. You can still keep all the oil and all the smell within. So this part, right, it actually adds on to the aesthetics of this whole place. And not forgetting that in the legacy collection, the floorings are all marble and it has also better quality finishing. So this is definitely a very, very premium layout and a very, very premium unit type. I really love it. Let's move on to the other 3-bedder unit types. So the other 3-bedder unit type is 3-bedroom flexi that will be situated in the luxury block over here, block 11, as well as here. Alright, so for the 3-bedroom flexi, we have 2 sizes. One is at 926 square feet, the other one is at 980. So let's take a look at the layout. So for 3-bedroom flexi, right, it has a flexi room over here. So when you walk in, you have an enclosable kitchen. Okay, then you have windows in all your bathroom and your kitchen as well. And then when you come here, this is the flexi area. So previously, when we are looking at the 3-bedroom premium, the flexi area is actually joined to the master. Whereas now for the normal 3-bedroom flexi, they actually put it in the living, which actually makes sense because, right, it gives them the flexibility to actually hack this away to have a bigger dining and living space. Okay, so of course, same thing, this flexi area comes with a window and an aircon. So let's say if you do not want, you still want to remain it as it becomes a flexi room on its own. Okay, because like I've mentioned, other than the premium, right, all other 3-bedroom, they do not have home shelter and there's no yard. So this flexi room, you can also use it as a storage space for families who needs it. Then as this one is non-PPVC, there are a lot of things that you can do. You can actually hack this away as well if you really want a super big living and dining area. So it is up to the individual's needs. Alright, so one thing to highlight for this 3-bedroom flexi, other than type C1, which is the smallest one at 926, all others have an additional balcony in their master room. Can you see the difference? The small one, you only have a balcony in your living, whereas the bigger one, you have a balcony in your master room. Okay, yep, so actually that is the main difference. Other than that, there isn't so much of a difference. And then the other types of 3-bedroom flexi, if you want, you can screenshot this because the difference is actually on the foyer. Okay, so all other flexi over here, the master room already comes with a balcony because only this type C1S doesn't have it. The rest all actually has a balcony in their master room. Alright, then for here, this one, when you walk in, you do have slight privacy over here. You will not get to see the full unit, whereas for here, when you walk in, you actually get a full view of your house. Okay, then for this one, it has quite a long foyer. Yes, you do have privacy, but I think there are a lot of wasted space over here. So other than the foyer, right, the rest of the layout is pretty much similar. So if you're looking at 3-bedroom flexi, you can come back to this page to take a look. Other than the foyer, everything else is pretty much the same. Okay, so the next 3-bedroom type will be dual flex. So for dual flex, right, it is not dual key. It is just dual flexi. Okay, so if you were to take a look at it, there are 2 sizes, 990 and 1023. And the difference, I would think, is actually the foyer as well. So for the 990, the foyer is actually shorter. The 1023 is longer, like that. But other than that, it's the same. Let's take a look at this layout. Okay, so for dual flexi, there are actually 3 rooms. The master room is here, and then the 1 bedroom here, another bedroom is here, and the 2 bathroom will be master bath as well as the bath 2. The unique thing about this layout is that it has a long kitchenette in the middle of the house. So this is a very interesting concept that I'm still trying to see how best we can actually do it. Some people say that, oh, we can actually use it as a co-living ma. You know, you can stay here, one person stay here, then like that, then another person stay here. Okay, another family stay here, another family stay here, then they share the kitchen. No wrong, but if you have been to the show flat, you realize that it might be a problem because, right, the aircon that's situated in this whole layout, one is over here, okay, in the living area. The other one is actually over here. So if you were to close up this area, this whole kitchen area will become very dark and there's no aircon. Then maybe you have to build one yourself here, or you have to build a fan. So if you were to ask me, you want to make this into co-living, can, but there's definitely a lot more to be done, which can be quite mafan. So if you want to look at this bedroom type, there are a lot of things that you have to look at unless you are someone who can accept this layout on its own, meaning to say you have a kitchen in the middle and your dining is in front of your kitchen. Then you can go for this. If not, I find that this layout is quite unique. I will actually go for the normal 3-bedroom flexi layout if I'm looking for own stay. But that is me. So I find that the Robertson Opus has this really unique dual flex that I've never really seen this layout in the recent new launches. So it's a very interesting layout for us to study. But then again, if you're buying for this for rental, a 990 square feet times 3,002, it actually adds up to 3.3 million. So you're buying a 3.3 million to rent out. It may not give you a very good rental yield. Okay, just for your noting. So if you were to ask me, my top choice for 3-bedder, it has to be the 3-bedroom premium. The layout is superb and I really like how the kitchen is like and how the flexi is actually just beside the master room. It really gives me a lot of rooms to play around and I can really imagine myself staying there with my family comfortably. So if you were to ask me for my 3-bedroom flexi top choice, it has to be this one. The one that is the smallest one. 4-bedroom premium situated in the legacy block at block 9, and then it is at 1539 square feet. Just look at the layout. I have nothing to complain other than the fact that it has no private lift. Everything else is perfect. Okay, you have a junior master over here, which is important for bigger unit type. You walk in, you have a very generous dining, and same thing, you have this sliding door kitchen and you have a very regular shaped living area. So same thing, the balcony is linked to this too. So if you can hack this away, it becomes a really huge living dining. You have home shelter, WC. You come in here, you have a walk-in wardrobe already for your master and your other bedroom over here. So this layout is extremely superior. And I feel that the only thing is there are only 9 units in the whole of Robertson Opus. People who can afford it, I think they will go straight to this layout. Really nothing to complain, and it's so comfortable to just live in this place. And if you were to take a look at the supply of bigger units in the whole of River Valley for a decent sized development like Robertson Opus, which is more than 300 units, the big unit types are actually commanding a very good pricing, meaning to say people are willing to pay. Because when they buy big units like that, it's mostly for own stay one. And for own stay, they really value comfort and they value this kind of quality living. So this layout, I have to say that the developer did a really good job. So for the 4-bedroom, it has to be one of my most favorite layout in the whole of Robertson Opus. Nothing to complain. So if you are looking at 4-bedroom, please go and definitely consider this in your bucket list. Okay, so I have reached the end of my project analysis episode for the Robertson Opus. Just to highlight on some of the important dates, the preview is actually starting on the 5th of July very soon, and also the booking is going to be on the 19th of July 2025. So you can find me on my social links over here, and then I'll see you next time. Bye.